Okay, so hopefully you can hear me and you can see me. Let us make sure. Hold on. And let me make sure that you can see me and you can hear me on Patreon. It is always a little funky whenever I'm trying to control this from multiple places because nothing is ever the same. I don't know why I don't know why everything kind of has to be different. Like if I schedule a post on like Patreon and it's on YouTube, why I can't see the comments over here. I'm not exactly sure why, but I can't. But how is everybody doing? Is it today's? Yeah, today's Tuesday. I have to remember what day of the week it is. Me and this brain that doesn't always like to function. Like, oh, hi, Shadow. I have a puppy at my feet. I have puppies running around all over the place. Let me lower my chair some because in case I take and move out of frame, if I move up too close, well, doesn't really matter, I guess. Hi, Tracy. Hi, LJ. What are you doing, Shadow? You okay? What's the matter? If I move up too close, sometimes I go out of frame. Well, I guess I should have raised my chair. What, babies? Hi, honey bunny. Did you hear the thunder? I think the weather's going to get bad. That's what's the matter with the babies. Hi, Laylers. They're scared. They're scared. They're scared. They don't like the weather. They're all scared. So, they're going to be acting a little anxious. They're all standing, well, the big dogs are standing around the back door. Everybody forgets how young they are, just in case you're wondering, because the big babies are hi, my honey bunny. They forget how big that they're so young because they're not even 6 months old because they're so big. So Honey has gotten to the point where when she has nightmares, she likes to cuddle with Mama. Like, I don't know if you can tell, Layla is shaking like a leaf. She does not like the bad weather at all. Okay, please don't lick me in the face. Not right now. So, yes. They're scared. But yeah, we're supposed to have some bad thunderstorms today. Yeah, I don't know how big they're going to get, LJ. So we rescued them at the end of October. And they were around 6 weeks old at that time. So what does that make them? It's okay. Nothing's going to happen to you. I promise. Y'all can't see her in my lap, so it looks like I'm talking to myself. Layla's in my lap. But yeah, we rescued them at the end of October. So what does that make them? That makes them that they were born September, the middle of August. So they're not very old, but they're big. And Honey, as I said, she likes to cuddle up with me when she gets scared and she has nightmares. And when she has a nightmare, she gets the hiccups. And she's got a lot of personality. So last week we didn't have our live. I had a doctor's appointment I had a neurologist appointment, so it ran long. So I didn't get to do the Scrapbox Contest. And if you're not familiar with what the Scrapbox Contest is, I do this on typically the first Tuesday of every month. And I do one for regular YouTube subscribers, and I do one for Patreon supporters. Now, I do lots of free content now on Patreon. And one of the things I am doing now for the supporters in general, trying to think of how to say this, is if you're on any of my groups or on Patreon, you can take and hashtag design request on my Cuttin Corners Vinyl group. Dog hair everywhere. Sorry. They're shedding like crazy and it just makes my face itch. I don't do perfect here. If you want perfect, this is not the place for you. I try to do as real as possible, even though you saw lots of edits in previous videos because I was trying to make it a little bit easier on myself. People prefer it to be real, so y'all are going to get real again because I do think it makes Layla, you okay? It's okay. I think it does make it where you can see that this is real life and I make mistakes too, even though I have been a professional for a long time, because I think sometimes it scares people away when you don't see real. But one of the things I've been doing is design request. So whether you're in the Cuttin Corners group on Facebook, the Betsy's Bees on Facebook, which is just kind of a little bit more laid back, chill, where it's kind of hang out, talk about crafts. A lot of it's just me kind of rambling. Or Patreon as well. These are free files. It's a way for me to have inspiration since I'm not doing customs anymore. I'm doing them for free, but also remember I'm doing them when I have time. So you have to be patient. You can request me to do designs. So you can hashtag it in one of those groups or on Patreon. So that's something else I'm doing. I just lost all train of thought. Let me be perfectly clear. If it seems like I'm spacey, I have epilepsy. I am on a lot of medications. They keep changing them. They just up my dose. I want people to understand this because I have gotten comments. I have gotten messages. I have gotten people say they don't want to support me. And I have gotten a lot of people who have left Patreon, who have quit subscribing, who don't watch videos because they don't like the new me. I have no control over it. So if you don't like it, bye. This is how it is. I don't have any control. And some days are going to be better than others. Right now, it is worse. Because as I said, they just upped dosages. So please be understanding. This is real. Hey, be sweet. Shadow, be nice. She's not going to take your toy. She's little. Ugh, you're big, even though... Because it's like, what was it? Yesterday's video that came up. I don't know how many people said, well, you didn't do this. Out of one step, out of 20,000 of them, I forgot one thing. That does happen from time to time. I've done it a bajillion times. But with my brain stuff, I do forget things. I'm not going to redo and re-edit a video because I forgot something. I don't have time for it. But just to let you know. Anyways, enough of that. But that is something I am trying to do. Plus, it helps keep me occupied because I can't drive at this point. I can't go anywhere. So it gives me something to do. If you have design requests, those are the places to do it, and that's how you do it. And if you go to my Patreon, you do not have to support me through Patreon. Let me make that clear. When I'm saying this stuff, it's not like I'm saying, hey, I need your money. Go pay for Patreon. These are free. Just to let you know. Layla. Shadow. This is my life. I saw a TikTok. Really? Please? Will y'all stop? I saw a TikTok, I think it was this morning, where a guy was talking about how puppies are harder than babies. I will say this, little dogs, maybe not so much. Big dogs, I would definitely say yes, especially two of them at the same time. Babies don't run. Big dogs run. They chew everything. It's a nightmare. Stop it. Okay, let me try to read through things. And I do have the winners here for the Scrapbox. Also, if you want to enter, comment on Patreon. I will choose my favorite comment. And if I can't choose, I choose it randomly. Let me say hi to people before I forget. But yeah, I don't do perfect. And I think this is a great place because people get scared of things. And also, it is fun. And you can still be creative. You can still do things if you are dealing with issues. And that is part of what I'm trying to show at this point. That's the whole thing behind it. So, hi V. Well, thank you, LJ. I forget to pop comments up in the center. Layla, it's okay. Nobody's going to hurt you. The storm's not going to get you. Let me say hi to it's okay. Thank you, LJ. Tracy, it is what it is. People are buttheads. I've learned to deal with it over the years. Mary Jane, it is what it is. You would be surprised. I don't know. Oh, hope. I don't know. As I said, it is what it is. I'm not trying to complain. I'm not trying to let people get to me. I'm just. Let's see. Let's see. I seen the hat press for Cricut for $150? Is there one as good or better? I saw the release of it, and I'll say this. So for the Cricut mug press, like for whenever the Cricut mug press came out, like I've seen them in person and they look cool, but seeing them in the store and stuff like that, they didn't seem that well made. Like for people using it over and over and over again. I've also seen a lot of people who return them. That was one of my issues for it, especially for the cost of them. Cricut makes things that, like the Cricut Maker, they work well. If you're using it for a business, I don't think it's a good business machine, if that makes sense. Now, I do think that it is great for a beginner. I think that it is one of the easiest machines to use, if I'm making myself clear. But do I think it is a business machine? No, not in the least little bit. It's like that auto press that's coming out. The way that they are marketing it, I am not 100% positive that it is going to be worth the money. The way that the motors and stuff like it in it that work, I don't know if you'll be able to get the kind of pressure that they're saying that it will do. I don't know. I am not going to knock it, but the kind of money that they are asking for it, I don't know if it is worth it. I haven't touched it. I haven't seen it in person. But it's beautiful. But I don't know. Hopefully that makes sense. Let me see who else is. But LJ, I do know that there are some professional presses that will do a lot of the same things. That may be a little bit more expensive, but are industrial, that will last you a whole lot longer. Because, like, let's face it, and this is something I do know. I have went through several Cricut makers, that kind of thing. They get some wear and tear on them, and I don't use them every day. Okay? Like, I use a Cricut quite a bit, but I don't use it every day. And I've had them go out on me. So does that make sense? Let's see who else is. Thank you, Judy. And yes, and I will say this also about the auto press. There are other things that I don't also like about it, with the way that the knobs and stuff like that are pulled off to the side, wear and tear if you are moving, because they're like, oh, you can take and move it and put it up like this. Wires and stuff like that, that whenever you're moving that in and out, that's going to cause wear and tear on those wires. That's never a good design. Ever. That is never a good situation. My husband works in IT. If you've got wires that are attached that you can't sit there and unplug, don't care who it is. If that doesn't come unplugged, that is a poor design. Always. You can't tell me, anybody who remembers old school plug-in anything. If you're sitting there moving something that has wires that do, and you're moving it in and out, that doesn't unplug and plug back in, that is going to mess up. And you can get an industrial press that has a magnetic auto open feature that is a little bit easier to adjust, that will have a lot more longevity in that price range. And again, that isn't a pneumatic press. That has motors and gears. So I'm not sure about the longevity. Again, I do not know for sure. I am not trying to drag Cricut. Again, they make good products, certain products. But this is, I'm not 100% sure. Cricut makes products to be changed out quickly. LJ, I would look at Heat Press Nation. They do have a lot of budget friendly products, and they do have a lot of things that are interchangeable within their system. Exactly, used to be Flynn. They don't always stand behind their products. But again, their products are made in a way to upgrade every year or two. Just to let you know, look at their price range. Look how often they release products. They're designed at a premium price point, but they're not always a premium product. I'm not saying that to be mean. I'm being honest. And almost everybody I know, and I've said this, like I've said this 100 times. Why? And people ask, well, you are a pro. Why do you use the Cricut? Because the Cricut's the easiest one to teach people always on. I've said that a bajillion times. Why do I use a Cricut? Because it's the easiest one to show people on. But I also tell people, like, if you're going to do this on a professional level, the Cricut's not what I would recommend. And I also tell people all the time, if you're going to do this on a professional level, get an art program. Get an art program. Don't design in Silhouette. Don't design in Cricut. Buy an art program. Buy an art program. Buy CorelDRAW. Buy Adobe. And honestly, I wouldn't recommend Adobe. CorelDRAW is inexpensive in the grand scheme of things. I don't recommend Inkscape, even though it's free, because it is an open source program and they upgrade it all the time. And a lot of the language that's used in it is a little bit confusing. LJ, there are a lot of things that are more professional grade that are inexpensive, that are more in the crafter budget. You can look at like Heat Press Nation. And yes, I'm a Heat Press Nation affiliate, but this isn't me saying that because I'm a Heat Press Nation affiliate that are in that budget, the same kind of price range as Cricut, that are better made, just to let you know. Like, that are just, you can go look. There are plenty of reviews other than mine that will tell you that. But like CorelDRAW is pretty easy to learn, and you can do a whole lot more with it. And you're not limited by this or that, if this makes sense. CorelDRAW, like, I just bought it for the new version of it for my Mac because I'm not using it as like a business edition. I think it was maybe $200, which can be expensive, but I don't have to upgrade it every year. I own it, so it's not a cloud version. Literally, I own it. There's tons of tutorials on it. You can buy a book. Because like for Adobe, it's now cloud-based for it. If you're not a student or an educator edition, it's like $80 a month. So Adobe is like pricing themselves out of like the normal, like just everyday person who wants to use it. So I would recommend doing something like that, because for like CorelDRAW, again, there's tons of tutorials. And people who are in the business, like for screen printing, things like that, it's easy to use it for all across the board. You can use it for SVGs. You can use it for EPS files. You can use it for DXPs, which are also for, which you can use for silhouette. So it's very easy across the board. Corel Draw is something that I definitely recommend. I've been using it for many, many years. Just to kind of give you a heads up. And it works very, very easily. You can edit things in it. So if you do buy a file from like Etsy and it doesn't work properly, you can bring things in. Well, and see, like Jennifer, you're paying for Canva Pro for $13 a month. That adds up. Every month you're paying for it. Again, I'm not a Corel affiliate. But I've used Corel since what? I think since 2000. Well, no. Even since before then. Even before I got into the screen print sign world, I used it whenever I started playing around with it. Whenever Jeremy's mom had a computer business. So a long time ago, because she would do like whenever she first started, because she had a computer business where she would fix like computers and stuff like that. That's where Jeremy started doing like tech work. But yeah, it's the same kind of thing. Well, see, LJ, silhouette designer and stuff like that is great. The only reason I recommend something like Corel Draw versus silhouette and all that is because, like, if you ever get into needing like a bigger machine, like getting into like a Graph Tech or a Puma or a Suma, or getting into a Roland printer, or which is what you would call like an eco solvent or an HP latex or a Brother direct to garment, a Oki data laser printer. These are more of like your professional big grade machines, or you want to get into like actual big level screen printing where you're wanting to actually print like your transparencies. You want something that you're going to be able to use across the board, if this makes sense. And a lot of times whenever you're talking about big professional shops, and like whenever I've shown y'all things, I've shown y'all on a small level, like how to do vinyl for this kind of job. But what I did, what my business was, we had a professional level shop. We did big signs, we did screen printing, we did banners, we did it all. So we needed art programs because we would have a job that we would make screen printed shirts, we would make banners, we would make business cards. So I would have to have this program to be able to make the transparencies to print shirt, to be able to make transparencies to print screen printed shirts, but also to be able to bring it into Flexi Sign to be able to cut vinyl, to make a banner. So hopefully this makes sense. Because a lot of people are like, well, why do I need this or why do I need that? It's depends on where you're wanting to go with things. And again, Adobe's a great program. And if you want to stay with Adobe, it's great. If you learned Inkscape and you love it, great. If you want to use GIMP, great. I'm not saying that those programs aren't great. I am a tried and true Corel user. I think that it's a great program. It's very cost efficient compared to so many of the others. I think that it is easy to learn, especially for the price. Jennifer, as I said, I think that it's easy to learn. I think that it's got a lot of features. So hopefully that makes sense. One thing about my brain stuff is if I can keep it focused on a certain subject, I can actually stay somewhat coherent. Hi, Christy. But hopefully that makes sense to you. That where I'm coming from when I say these, it's not too, hopefully it doesn't seem like I'm talking down to anybody, because that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm just saying that if you're wanting to get to, or that if you want to upgrade to other machines or things like that, or if you're thinking about going to those levels, that these are things that you might want to consider, if that makes sense. That hopefully I don't want you to ever feel like I'm pushing anything on you, because to me, these things are neither here nor there. I've never been one who's all about like the money. That part, the way I look at things is money comes, money goes. Like, I'll tell you, I have affiliate links there in the description box. You can use them. You don't. I have Patreon. You can support. You don't. You can subscribe. You can watch. You don't have to. Things come, things go. But I'll give you my advice. You can listen. You don't have to. But I do have a little bit of knowledge. Hopefully that makes sense. Anyways, whew, my tongue's numb. Oh, hi, Cam. It's okay, Layla. I didn't mean to cough and scare you. Yes. Okay. So, before I forget again, the winners for the Scrapbox Contest. The reason why I changed the name from drawing to contest is because of, what is it called? Laws. It's gambling laws. Gambling laws. So if I say drawing, it's considered gambling. If I say contest, it's not gambling. Just so you know. So on Patreon, the winner is Crystal Thomas. So congratulations. And on YouTube, it is Delenia Hernandez. So Delenia, I need you to email me at cuttincornersvinyl@gmail. So the way you enter in on Patreon, comment on this video on Patreon and on YouTube, what you need to do is you actually have to go into the comments, not the live stream comments. You have to go to the comments section down below and comment there, because I can't do the comments over here. I have to actually have you go to the comments down below, because it won't draw from those, just in case you're wondering. So you have to go comment down below. And it also helps out the algorithm. So if you like my stuff, you actually have to, it helps if you actually comment and like, so people will see it. It helps me. And if you don't like my stuff, then don't do that, because then people won't see my stuff, because YouTube's like, hey, people don't watch, people don't like, people don't talk about her, then people won't see it. Christy, could you put a handkerchief in between the Cricut press and a t-shirt? Okay, so depends on what the handkerchief is made out of. Are you talking about hold on, to protect the t-shirt and the Cricut press? If you're looking at going that route, you're probably better off using parchment paper. Not that that would be the route that I would go, but I mean, if you're not wanting to buy a Teflon sheet, I would use parchment paper. If you're looking for cheap Teflon sheet, I have my Amazon store linked down below. It's an affiliate thing. I don't hardly earn anything off of it. You can get a Teflon. I have it linked, like the tools and stuff I use for vinyl in it. You can order one off there. They're cheap. I would do that. A Teflon sheet off there is really cheap. I would do that. I wouldn't use a handkerchief. Because handkerchiefs are typically, like, you're probably more likely to burn it. If you get scorch marks, you could scorch your shirt. And the Teflon, like, Teflon's not good for the environment, but a Teflon sheet will last you forever. Now, if you have birds, and this is something a lot of people don't know. If you got birds, don't use Teflon around a bird. Don't use Teflon around birds. You'll kill a bird in a heartbeat. Which Cricut heat press? The new one? If you're talking about that one, I've used the Cricut Easy Press, but not the new one. I am not on Cricut's PR. I don't think I'm on anybody's PR. I'm too honest to be on anybody's PR. People don't like me that much, other than specialty. I don't think Cricut would like me enough to send me stuff, because specialty is the only place that is exactly, Tracy. Specialty is the only place that's like, hey, we want to hear your honest opinion about stuff. I mean, you know, let's be honest. Most places, when they're like, hey, there are very few places who are like, I won't like work with someone though who's like, I mean, like Heat Press Nation has sent me stuff, and I'm like, I'm not signing a contract, just to let you know. I'm not going to say something that you want me to say. You can send me something, but if you want me to say anything in particular, but if you want me to say something, we're not doing it. I refuse. I'm not that person. Thank you, Steven. But yeah. No, LJ, it doesn't affect my time at all. And honestly, the only reason I use the other Teflon sheet is it really doesn't matter. I use it to make sure people remember to use a Teflon sheet. It doesn't actually make a difference at all on the other Teflon sheet. I just use it in videos so people know to use one. Because if I don't use it, then people will forget and then blame me if they burn a shirt. But yeah, it doesn't affect it at all. Teflon is a good, all it does is keep things from sticking. It conducts heat just the same. But it's also kind of like when I've been working with like sublimation stuff lately. It's like I did the video I don't know if y'all remember where I did the video about Sublimation Company's line about using copy paper, and it works well. And someone was like, I did the video yesterday and talking about using sublimation paper. And when they were like, well, why did you do the video about sublimation paper and copy paper and you're using sublimation paper now? I'm just like, well, sublimation paper works great, but you can still use copy paper. Do I always recommend copy paper? No. It depends on what you're doing with it. But also, you need to realize that when you're using cheap sublimation blanks, you're probably better off using a sublimation paper. Two, one thing that a sublimation paper has over a copy paper is it is thicker and it has a backing on it. If you're going to print a sublimation design and leave it sitting, you probably want to use the sublimation paper. You know, there are certain things like that. There are parts to it you can't always explain and leave in a video that, you know what I'm saying? And people don't always realize all that. Does that make sense? It's not that you're trying to leave parts out of it. It's just things change from day to day. And it also depends on your print set. You know what I'm saying? And there are a lot of people who are using printers that are not made for sublimation. So that changes things too. Does that make sense? So it's like, how do you explain this to people? I don't know. It makes it very, very difficult. Yes, LJ. And Koala brand is a really good brand, and so is ASUB. And they're actually owned by. Exactly, Stephen. I have them linked in the description box, LJ. And also, it kind of depends on the grain of sublimation paper that you're using. And again, it depends on the substrate you're putting it on. But yes, Stephen, that's where it matters too, is it depends on the practices, what you're working with, and people, like, there are so many different things. It's like there was a girl in a sublimation group that I was talking to, and she had put up a post and she was like, things that I always recommend. One, you need to use a heat press over an easy press. Two, you always use sublimation paper over copy paper. And then there's all these rules. And I was like, one, a heat press is not always better than an easy press. Two, copy paper works just as well as sublimation paper in some instances. Yes, Jennifer, well, let me rephrase this. I prefer a sublimation printer, an authentic sublimation printer over any other printer all day long. Here's the reason why. A sublimation printer is always going to be better than a converted printer any day of the week. A sublimation printer, one, their tubes are made for sublimation ink. A sublimation ink is a thicker ink that is more corrosive. A sublimation printer cycles your ink, so it does the circulation processes. My Sawgrass printer takes and like does this thing bing, 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 every single day that circulates the ink, so my heads do not dry up. And that is a great feature. Two, my printer has a warranty on it. Anybody who converts a printer, you put different inks in it, even if you are buying that Epson F170 that you can take and change it to different inks. If you're not using genuine Epson inks, let me tell you something. It is not under warranty anymore. Even though people will tell you you can use Printer Jack or Hippo inks, it is not under warranty, period. And yes, the inks are a little bit more expensive, but I know that when I go to use it, I will get the same thing every single time I go to print. Doesn't matter. Every single time, I get the same quality with every single print. Doesn't matter. I can call Sawgrass. I can call Heat Press Nation. I can call Condi. I can call anybody who sells that Sawgrass printer. If I bought an Epson, anybody who sells the Epson, no, I can't use white in a sawgrass. There is no such thing as white sublimation ink. That doesn't exist. They do make white laser toner, but that's not sublimation. They do make white toner, but that's a whole different ballgame. So just so you know. But again, I have a whole video on why I won't convert another printer. I bought a converted printer many years ago, about 15 years ago. I bought an Epson printer. Now, it used sawgrass inks. Paid a crap ton of money for it. I mean, when I say a crap ton of money, it was like, I think it was like $10,000 or $15,000. It was a lot of money. And this was before sublimation was popular. And the blanks were super expensive back then. Super freaking expensive. Like, and we were told, oh yeah, it was like to sell these, oh yeah, people are going to love it. Let me tell you, to sell a mug, it was like out the door for people to make a profit. It was like $30. People weren't going to want to spend $30 on a photo mug for a small town insurance company. So we're like, oh, we can convert it back. Oh no. Oh no, you cannot just convert it back, and the heads to replace it. It was going to cost like $5,000 to convert it back to clean the tubes, because you can't just people don't realize this. You cannot just convert it back. You have to get new tubes, new heads, all this kind of stuff. It was a $10,000 paperweight by that point. We'll never convert a printer back. Ever again. But people don't listen to what I have to say, even though I've been in the business of this for a long time. People think because I don't sit there and agree with the masses that I have no idea what I'm talking about. See, Stephen, I've got the laser etcher, but I keep thinking that maybe one of these days I will get a glow forge. Stephen, the sawgrass is awesome. Your library will love it. But that's part of the thing is, for some reason, even because I make mistakes and I don't portray this perfect image, that I get a lot of people who are like, she has no idea what she's talking about. Because I'm not sitting there pushing this perfect image off on people that she doesn't know. She doesn't know a darn thing. But I do. I have had so much equipment over the years. I have bought so much stuff. I have wasted so much money on stuff over the years, but people don't want to hear that. And that's part of it, is like, I have literally owned that sawgrass printer. I owned another sawgrass printer. I owned an Epson converted sublimation printer, as far as printers that will print on actual vinyl, such as Oracal, Specialty Materials, other brands of media, such as, there's other brands of it as well, a Roland Eco Solvent, an HP Latex, a Muto. I've done screen printing, so I've had an M&R screen printing machine. Like, I've done this for a long time. But people don't listen to it. I've had a Graphtec, a Suma. I've had Silhouette, Brother, Cricut, but I don't know anything. I've had direct to garments. I've had laser printers that printed white, but I don't know anything. I'm not trying to sit here and pretend that I'm holier than thou. It's just nobody listens. Liz, I was actually looking at possibly getting, and let me tell you this, I was actually looking at possibly getting the Roland to be in 20, which is the versus the little tiny um eco solvent. It's a 20-inch eco solvent. Um because I was like, well, maybe I can do tutorials on that because it's a tiny one and it would be something that would be good for an entry level into getting into upgrading for a smaller business. You want to know one of the things that really freaking drives me nuts? This is one of my issues. One of my biggest freaking pet peeves is that 90% of the machines out there, as far as the professional industry goes, they don't run on Macs. They don't freaking run on Macs. They run on Windows. And that pisses me off because I'm not going back to a freaking Windows machine. I like my Mac. I'm not going back. Every freaking eco solvent printer that I have found runs on a freaking Windows machine. And I'm not going back to a Windows machine. Windows is not secure in the least little bit. Mac is freaking secure, especially with the state of the world it is in right now. Not going back to it. And I don't mind. And let me tell you this. This should kind of tell you how I feel about money stuff. I have no issue putting whatever, if I have any profit that I make off of YouTube, all of it going right back into putting it into this business stuff so I can show y'all stuff. Like, at all. I have no issue doing it. Because I actually love doing this. And even with my brain stuff, this is my favorite thing in the world to do. I really do love this. And it gives me something. Like, I don't want to run a business part of this anymore. But I do enjoy it. Like, I love getting on here and showing y'all what I know. So, there's that. But yeah. I am hoping that somebody comes out with something. But I will say this, there are latex printers that I'm sure I could get for that will work on a Mac. But I'm wanting something that will print and cut at the same time. And latex printers are on the finicky side as far as that will print vinyl because latex requires heat and latex printers. One, the thing with print and cut is when you have to unload your media and reload it in again, it's kind of like whenever you're working with your Cricut or your Silhouette or even with your Sublimation. When you're unloading and reloading, what happens? It doesn't always line back up. And it's a pain in the butt. Toy, I have my moments. Sometimes it's good. Sometimes it's bad. I would much rather have it an all-in-one process. But the problem is there's really not an full all-in-one process because if you're doing decals, you still got to take it off and laminate it, which is a pain in the butt because I don't know if you know this, like as far as it goes for decals, when you're doing a print and cut for decals, even if you're doing like regular vinyl, like printing on Oracal or 3M, which 3M makes some amazing decal material. Which a lot of things, like when you're doing decal material, they'll have air release channels, like whenever you're doing like wraps, things like that. Like if you're doing curved surfaces, there's differences in vinyls whenever you're talking about like actual adhesive vinyls. A lot of people don't realize that either. There's calendared, there's cast. Calendared vinyl and cast vinyls, that's a whole different topic. Like whenever you go from your 651 to 751, there's a difference. But when you laminate a printed material, there's a reason for it. Whenever you print like your adhesive, you want to laminate it, because if not, you can just scratch it off. Or if someone takes and uses like alcohol on it, it will run. It's the nature of the beast. It's so you want to take and put a laminate over it. So that way, if someone takes and graffitis over it or takes and uses a Sharpie, you can clean it and it doesn't mess up your ink. So you got to take it off your printer, laminate it, and then cut it. It's how it goes. Hi, my honey girl. So there's really not a process where you can print it, cut it. It sucks. It would be nice, though, if there was a way to print it, laminate it, and cut it all in one fell swoop. There just really isn't a solution for that yet. But kind of where... Exactly, Karen. Wraps are terrible. Absolutely terrible. And like vehicle wraps, like I've seen some people do like videos and stuff on YouTube where they're like wrapping wheels, and I'm like, how do they make it look so simple? Because it is not that easy. It is not easy at all. I mean, I'm sure that that's all they focus on and do that all day long, but it is not easy in the least little bit. And I don't have steady hands for it. Oh, the wrap solution? Oh, I do have in my... Oh, box truck? I don't know. And that's another thing, is like people don't understand, like to do pop rivets and stuff like that, you have to like pull them out. And if you can't pull them out, like doing big jobs, like people think that there are certain parts of things that are like, oh, that's just simple. It's a truck, so it's got square sides. It should just be this. No. No, ma'am. It is not simple. Just because it's a truck and it's square does not mean it's easy. Does not mean it's easy at all. Or just because it's a sign and it's flat, you do not think that that is easy whenever you're doing a sign that is 8 foot by 32 foot. You do not know how hard it is. You think, oh, a sign that is 16 foot off the ground, that's not that difficult, or even 8 foot off the ground. I am scared to death of heights. Do you know how many times I've had to hang a sign on the side of a building? I'm terrified. Terrified of heights. Terrified. Absolutely terrified. And I've done so many of them. Because here's the thing. When you are the business owner, you got to do it. You can't say no to the job. And when you need the money and you got bills to pay, guess what? You got to do it. Because when a hurricane's hit, you got to do it. And those are the things people don't always tell you, you know? You got bills to pay, you got mouths to feed. You kind of got to do the jobs, even the jobs that freaking suck. And sometimes you got to do stuff at weird hours because that's whenever you can rent a lift. And it doesn't matter if you are a 4'11" girl and you're working with your 6 tall father-in-law. I mean, we have done some odd things because even when we've had lots of employees, you can't guarantee when people are going to actually show up to work. We've had people quit at the most inopportune times, and guess what? You have to finish that job. Exactly, Karen. And these are the things people don't always tell you about business. There are so many times I've talked to people that have owned businesses that, and this is one thing I will tell you about owning a business, is you need to know how to do every job in your business. You cannot not know how to do a job in your business because you never know when someone's going, especially if you're a small business owner, you don't know if someone's going to call in sick. You don't know if someone's going to quit. You do not know what can happen from day to day, period. And jobs have to get out, period. It's how it is. So, well, exactly, Karen. And the one thing about it is like for us in the area that we live in with like hurricanes and all the things that we've had to deal with, we've had it where people couldn't come back from hurricanes. Well, jobs still had to get done. We've had to finish them. It didn't matter. We had to literally, because of a storm coming, people had to evacuate. We had to go and finish a job, my husband, myself, and my father-in-law, right before we had to evacuate for a storm. So that way we weren't liable for the materials in case our building got destroyed while other people were evacuating, because that's how it went. Exactly, Christy. But, it is what it is. But I will tell you all this. I was excited. I got stuff set up to get mini screen printing set up. Like, I'm not going to do the full blown stuff. Like, I'm not going to like do like a full washout booth and like emulsion and stuff like that because, yeah, I'm not going to do all that kind of stuff. But I am going to do some like basic screen printing tutorials and talk about like inks and things like that. Because I think that that is a good thing because screen printing is a very cost effective way to make shirts. An extremely, and when I say extremely, like screen printing is one of the it is the cheapest way to make shirts. The cheapest. And I don't think people realize that. But there is a big learning curve for a lot of things. But I think people would enjoy it. But anyways, I've been on here a while. Again, if you want to enter the Scrapbox Contest, make sure you comment down below. I love you guys. And I will see y'all in the next one. Bye.